Welcome to this video all about the Beech Debonair. So the Beech Model 35 was introduced in 1946, which is the V-tail Bonanza. It was 185 horsepower. It was retractable gear, all aluminum, had an adjustable prop, and there was really no competition for it. It was a sleek, fast-looking aircraft, very beautiful. The styling was really advanced for that time. You know, back then, really the only competition was the current Piper Cubs, the Champs, the Taylor Crafts. These were tailwheel aircraft. They had no retractable gear, of course. They were fabric covered. So in 1946 or 1947 at all the general aviation airports, these are the planes you would see. And then comes this 1947 Beechcraft Bonanza. So the Beechcraft company started in the early 30s. It was started by Walter and Olive Ann Beech. Walter was a great engineer. In the 1940s, Walter became ill and Olive Ann actually took over running the company for a while. Then unfortunately in 1950, Walter died of a heart attack. So Olive Ann actually became CEO in 1950. She led the company for many years, clear up until 1982 when she retired from the board of directors. She was called the First Lady of Aviation. This couple was highly revered by all the Beech owners and pilots. So competition for the V-tail Bonanza came by way of the Piper Comanche 250 and the Cessna Centurion. Now these aircraft weren't quite as luxurious as the V-tail Bonanza, but they did have similar performance and they had a much lower price point. So in order to compete, Beechcraft decided to come up with a new model, a model that would compete more in that market. And they decided to name it the Debonair. And they came out with the Debonair Model 33 in 1959 and 1960. Now the Debonair was basically a stripped down Bonanza. The fuselage was the same, the wings were the same, had retractable gear just like the V-tail. So it was really pretty much the same plane except for the straight tail. And also they stripped it down a lot. The interior was very sparse, the instrument panel very sparse. The paint job was aluminum with just some stripes painted just to give a little bit of a appeal. So this model was really a stripped down Bonanza. And it didn't really take the market by storm like the V-tail did. Only 233 of these were made by the end of that series. In 1961, Beech came out with the model A33. This A33 was slightly improved. They added a rear window and they put a complete ventilation and exhaust system in. It had a model IO470J engine, Continental engine. It was 225 horsepower and it was fuel injected. The rear window, as you can see, added a lot. And you know what else they added? A hat shelf. Isn't that awesome? In 1962, Beech came out with the model B33. So the B33 had even more improvements. It had an IO470K engine, still at 225 horsepower, fuel injected. Had a better paint scheme, as you can see in this original brochure for the model B33. They claimed that it had scientific soundproofing, and also that it would compete with a compact car in terms of gas economy. So I imagine that compact car must have been something like this. It had a 270-pound baggage compartment, had a better interior, a nicer instrument panel, and they added 40-gallon fuel tanks on both sides of the wings. A big improvement over the 25-gallon tanks on the previous models. Now, look at these beautiful radios. Here's a list of the standard equipment on the model B33. And here's a list of additional options. In 1965, the model C33 arrived. The C33 had a larger rear window, a larger dorsal fin. The rear bench seat turned into 2 bucket seats. And then in 1966, the C33A, And this had a big improvement. It had an option for the IO 520 engine, which was a 285 horse engine, which added 13 knots to the cruise speed, which gave you a 174 knot cruise. Now, most buyers added a lot of the options that rivaled the V35 Bonanza through these years. And finally, Beechcraft came to the decision that they should really call the Beechcraft Debonair what it really is, a Bonanza. In 1968, the model E33 Bonanza arrived. And this was followed up by the legendary F33, which was in production clear up until 1995. So thanks for joining us on this history of the Debonair. Now, this is a B33 model that I purchased a year and a half ago, and stay tuned for a video that I'm going to do showing all the different improvements that I've made on this in this past year and a half.